goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom here in this hemisphere, and we hope around the world.
I have a dream.
Well, that's where we start when I go into politics.
Continue to be held as hostages in an attempt to force unacceptable demands on our country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Is increasing inequality and deep divisions among our own people.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack.
Congress has failed to pass federal hate crimes legislation that protects LGBT Americans from senseless violence.
So let us summon a new spirit of patriotism, of responsibility, where each of us resolves to pitch in and work harder and look after not only ourselves but each other.
Broadcasting live from the Msc Radio Network in the city built on steel, rock and roll, and is the fictitious home of Betty White. This is Joust It Out, and I'm your host, G. With me is my lovely co-host, Judith Fidel.
Hello.
And it is Wednesday, January 23rd, 2013, our first show of the new year with our new old president. Yay.
Yay.
Oh, my goodness.
Worst inauguration ever. Stupid.
By the way, we have to replace his with the current speech in our intro, I think.
Right. Yeah, a lot has happened in this new year since last year we spoke.
I know. Well,
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Was Santa good to you? I can't believe how long it's been.
How many things we have to talk about?
Oh, my goodness.
But actually, let's not talk about any of that.
No.
How can we?
We'll just talk about what happened this week.
I know. It's a big show. Actually, a big show today. So we have a calling guest. We'll be talking about the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. Mm-hmm. And that is our guest, who is...
Molly Toth.
Yes, Molly
Very
Toth.
Excited to talk with her.
So she'll be coming up in a few minutes. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we have... State Representative Michael Pizzatoro, former State Representative Michael Pizzatoro, who was actually one of the very first legislators in the nation to write a gay marriage bill, and that was in Rhode Island. And, of course, that debate and battle is going on right now. This week it's going to go to the House floor, which is a huge
long
deal.
time coming.
A long time coming. But so Michael will be on talking about that. And then in our second half hour, we will have Karen McHenry. I spent a lot of time with Karen lately. How can I call her Catherine? Yeah, Karen McHenry, who is from Belfair, and a young person will be on with her, and his name is Nate Brown, and it'll be a fun
celebrity guest host.
No,
co-host.
they're not. They're just guests. They're not celebrity guest hosts.
But he's a local celebrity, practically.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that later on. So yeah,
That'll be fun.
It has been a lot has happened.
In the past year.
No, Judith. I mean, in less couple days.
Since 2012.
Ay. So the holidays were good. We got through those. 2013 came upon us, and it's funny because in our last show, I think we were talking about the results of the election still, and we're so excited that the president won. And of course, we went into this inauguration, and it was funny leading up to it because it was all the little things that we as progressives wanted to see in the first inauguration,
right.
but really the president could never do it because he would have been too progressive and liberal. So all the hat tipping to great things from, who the poet was, which was a gay Cuban American, to obviously the speech, which we'll get into in a little bit. Beyonce. Poor
lip
Beyonce.
syncing.
No. Poor Beyonce. She lip syncs her own song. And I saw this thing with Aretha Franklin where she said she wished she did that when she sang at the last inaugural because
They're saying Yo-Yo Ma did.
Yeah, he did. He faked it. He faked it too.
Cello.
Yeah.
But we all knew that. The weather. Hello, people. It's
weather.
freezing cold. I was there 4 years ago. I can tell you, it was freezing cold. I put on my Facebook page and I was like, yay, 4 years ago, this is where I was. The only comments I got were the people I was with who all they did was talk about how cold it was that day. I swear to God, it was freezing cold. So, no, I don't think you can keep a cello in tune in that freezing cold weather. And I'm sure you can't keep your pipes
Very good.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree. Whatever. The numbers were down a little. But still, compared to every other president.
But of course,
you went from 2 million to 1 million something.
Well, and why not? Because the first is the first.
It was. And we were all so excited to get rid of George Bush, so that's why that happened.
Yeah.
Actually, we want to play this clip, though, because this is amazing.
It is now our generation's task to carry on what those pioneers began. For our journey is not complete until our wives, our mothers, and daughters can earn a living equal to their efforts. Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law. For if we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well. Our journey is not complete until no citizen is forced to wait for hours to exercise the right to vote. Our journey is not complete until we find a better way to welcome the striving, hopeful immigrants who still see America as a land of opportunity. Until bright young students...
Civil rights and human rights, again, what is it with this guy? Really? Is that all he talks about? It was, it was hilarious to hear the Fox pundits talk about... They were saying, it's so inappropriate for a president to talk about a barroom brawl in the inauguration speech. Really, that's where they went with it.
Crazy. One of the missing pieces of this was when he referred to Seneca Falls. That's what I was referencing. Right. Seneca Falls, Selma, and Stonewall. Which is awesome. And the Fox News pundits were going crazy. Crazy. But it was, it was amazing. And we'll talk about this in a minute, at a Roe v. Wade anniversary last night. And of course, I'm talking to folks who were there to talk about reproductive justice. And what they said was, oh my God, President Obama said Stonewall in the inauguration speech. It was incredible. Everybody heard it. I was having a conversation with someone the last couple of days, and that person who was a Hillary supporter said to me, now looking back, Obama was the right choice. It was the right choice. No other president, no other man, his demographic alone and what he was saying, and by him linking those together. The women's rights, the African-American civil rights, and pulling it all together into a human rights framework and connecting all of those dots and pulling it all together. Yeah, he's the only one who could do that that way. So he really ends up being the president for our time to move us to the next level of equality and what this nation looks like. And again, there's no way Hillary could have did that as a Caucasian woman, Right, really, but 2016, so. I think she's going to be a little too old and tired of all this by then. After her Benghazi attack. After her tough day she's had today. Chris, we probably should get Judith's guest on the line. And I say Judith's guest only because she knows her and I don't. So we're going to get Molly on the line and talk about Roe v. Wade and that 40-year anniversary. And, of course, all the other stuff you guys were doing last night. Yeah. So Molly is an incredible activist. She's, hopefully, we'll have her on the line in a minute. She can talk a little bit about herself. But she's an incredible... Hello. Hi, Molly. Hi, it's Judith on Joust It Out. You're live on the air. How this is you? G. Molly, how are you? Hi. So, long time no see, huh?
Yeah, it's been a whole 22 hours or something like that.
In this crazy weather. And so you, tell us a little bit, you emceed and helped plan and organize a Roe v. Wade anniversary event that took place in Cleveland, Ohio last night. If you can just give us a brief kind of update and remind us all why it's so important in these 40 years of Roe v. Wade. Mm-hmm.
Well, Roe v. Wade was the ruling that made abortion legal in the first trimester. So that happened 40 years ago. And you've probably been hearing a lot of stories recently about what life was like before Roe and what life was like when abortion was illegal. And it turns out that a lot of women were dying at that point in time because they weren't able to access basic health care. So we did this event last night up in Cleveland at Fairmont Temple, and it was a collaboration with a lot of different organizations, including Planned Parenthood, NARAL, and the Ohio Coalition for Religious Choice, or for Reproductive Choice, rather. And I was less involved in the planning of it, but I actually ended up emceeing the whole thing, and I got to introduce Senator Nina Turner and Representative Nikki Antonio and Loretta Ross, who was one of the co-founders of Sister Song. So it was a really amazing experience, and I just feel really humbled, and I don't know, it was a fantastic thing to have been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really great that so many people showed up last night, too. So for those of you who are not around from this area, there was a huge storm last night, but people, powered through it, and they were there in droves, and it was amazing. Loretta was amazing. We've had Senator Turner and Representative Antonio on the show before. They're incredible speakers and huge supporters at the State House for us. And Molly, tell us a little bit about, I know you are, I guess we would consider more of like a youth, having recently graduated from college, and you also had founded or co-founded an activist group. And if you could tell us a little bit about that. And I know that you had tell us a little bit about that. And then I want to ask you about the Time magazine article that you and I were discussing last night.
Okay, so back in the summer of 2011, my best friend Sarah and I were sitting there reading a bunch of news articles about old white men legislating on abortion and contraception and funding for family planning, and we got really, really angry, and we decided that we would start our own organization to kind of get people talking about these issues in our own community. I'm from Youngstown, by the way, not from Cleveland. So, and there was a real void for that kind of activity in our community. So we got people together and started the conversation, and we have a little army of people around the state, really. We collaborate with a lot of different people, and we can get them to respond to different issues and start dialoguing about these different issues that come up. So, we've made the trek down to Columbus for different things, to be at the hearings for the Planned Parenthood defunding bill. We've done big events on the campus at Youngstown State University. We did an event last summer that was really great. It was kind of like my farewell to college activism. We called it Bras to Birth Control, and we got people to donate bras and write little messages to legislators on them to say, hey, if you support us, we'll support you.
I love it.
Kind of a pun, I guess. But yeah, we have a lot of young women and surprisingly a lot of young men too, who are really involved, and we collaborate with the LGBT community around Youngstown. We've worked with NARAL and Planned Parenthood, and we pretty much, anytime there's an issue that comes up, we find a creative way to respond to it.
Molly.
And we also, try to be proactive about issues as they come up too.
Sure, Molly. I wanted to ask you a question because you referred to the old white guys, and I was interestingly enough today. I was Cleve Jones put a post on Facebook, and he actually had shown all the docs who had been assassinated at clinics, and they all happen to be white old guys. And I was just wondering, obviously there's probably young men that are supporting the cause, and you're seeing them. But are you seeing also middle-aged and older docs and professionals still coming to this battle? Besides, we know they do the work in the medical field and certainly are there at clinics. But are you also seeing that kind of movement just in general, like an older couple that comes to events, or just are you seeing that come out, especially in this battlefield of Ohio for this cause?
Oh, absolutely. I probably shouldn't have said that it's all old white men.
No, that's okay.
But it's true.
It's true. It's true. It's okay.
By and large, it's pretty true. But we do have a wonderful community of older people who have been involved in this kind of work for a really long time. I belong to the Unitarian Church in Youngstown, and pretty much every member of our congregation has at some point in time either given money to an organization that supports pro-choice efforts, or they've, been clinic escorts, or have served on the boards of these different organizations. So we have a really strong network of people who are working now with this current generation, my generation, to find creative ways to, I guess, to push for change and to defend things that are already in place. So we do have a lot of really, really wonderful older people who are now serving as mentors. So it's been great to see that kind of blossom over the last couple of years, because I don't know that bond was always so strong. But I think that the last year and a half of bad legislation has really brought everybody together. So it's sad that it took, almost shutting down Planned Parenthood clinics in Ohio for that to happen. But it's brought two different generations in the movement together in a pretty big way.
And Molly, that kind of brings me to our final thought that I really wanted to talk about too. Is I know it seems like, and maybe this is my own perception, and if you could talk about this a little bit, that there's kind of some outside forces that are trying to say that, the pro-choice movement is battling and infighting among generations. I know I don't really see that. Like you said, I feel like people are coming together even more, and that the newer generation is really surging. And I was wondering if you could talk about that, especially you being in that younger generation.
Yeah, of course. That's been a big thing that people have been talking about for the last couple of weeks. And I think one of the things that really spurred on that conversation was the article in Time magazine a few weeks ago. I actually have it sitting right here on my desk. It says, 40 years ago, abortion rights activists won an epic victory with Roe v. Wade, and they've been losing ever since. And it's basically implying that the perceived rift between the older generation who fought for Roe in the 60s and 70s and the younger generation that is now, doing clinic defense and testifying at the State House and using internet activism, social media activism, they're basically implying that rift in the way that we do things is why we are having such a hard time defending Roe, defending the gains that we've made with birth control. And I read the article, and I can't say that I really agree with it at all, actually. Not at least from my own experiences, because as I mentioned earlier, I've had a number of really wonderful people who were there before Roe and when Roe was being deliberated, and they've kind of taken me under their wings and guided me. So I think it's misleading to say that this rift is between the generations is what's making it so difficult to preserve the things that we've already won. I know that there is absolutely a difference in the way that young women and young men do things compared to an older generation, but I think that is something that you're finding across social justice movements.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There are people who are very firmly rooted in like the 60s way of doing things, and they don't see, in many cases, that the way that younger people are doing things works just as well. It works differently, but it works just as well, and in many ways can be even more effective.
Yep. Absolutely. And you're an absolute testament to that, for sure.
Molly, and I think we say this, from the LGBTQ standpoint in the HIV and AIDS world, we always need new blood and activists coming forward. And if you try to squelch them or say this is the way it has to be done today, you're going to lose that movement. You'll never move forward as for a cause. And I think it's brilliant how you said it, because it's really critical that we have young people coming into the fold, and certainly learning in teaching also at the same thing, because it's not just that. It's really about, what is today and what is activism today. And certainly as you get older, sometimes you get set in your ways and you forget you need to be on the cutting edge to pull this stuff off. So my hat is off to you on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't think it does us any good to kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
we have a lot to learn from people who have been there and who have fought these kinds of battles before. But they also have a lot to learn from us. So it's kind of a weird transitional point in time now where a lot of the women and men who were involved, 40, 45, 50 years ago, they're aging out, and they're finding that the way they used to interact with their movement has changed. It's not the same anymore. So I think, there's a tension there, but I think it can be positive tension if we seize it and make it work for us.
Right. Well,
that's awesome. So Molly, your organization, if folks want to get involved or find out more about it, how can they find that?
We, of course, have a Facebook page. You can just search for OHLA, O-H-L-A, Ohio Lady Advocates. And we also have a website. It's ohioladyadvocates.org.
Great.
And I have a Twitter account that I update from time to time, not as often as I should. It's OHLA_Molly with a Y.
Okay, great. We'll make sure that we get that on the links of the roundtable. And just appreciate all the work that you're doing and bringing in the newer generation to do all of the work and bridging that divide between the older generation. And my personal opinion is that that's coming from the outside in, and that's not really something there. But anyway, thank you, Molly, so much. Thank you for updating us on the Roe v. Wade 40th anniversary, and keep up the great work.
And Molly, keep us in tune with what you're doing so we can have you on in the future. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time.
All right,
great, thank you.
All right. So, hey, Chris, I know that I heard our big buzzer, and I think our next guests are not coming into the studio. They're going to be in the green room, and I know Chris is taking care of that. We also need to get Mike Pizzatoro on the line, and we're probably going to have an extended half hour right now.
Because we don't know how to control our time. We've been out of the studio for so long. We're not really sure. And I get really excited talking about Roe v. Wade.
I know. When I tried to cut you off a little.
I'm sorry.
It's sharing, you got only so much time you have to share.
No.
And, Roe v. Wade, LGBTQ rights, it's all, don't be such a hog.
Too late.
Just saying.
Hello.
Hello, Representative Michael Pizzatoro of the great state, the little state of Rhode Island. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing very well, Gareth.
So we're sorry we're calling you a few minutes late. We're going to extend our first half hour by a few minutes so we can have this interview with you. But I really want to just get into it with you. You're back in Rhode Island. I was hoping that you could, you've had quite the career and having many offices that you've sat in, and you've been part of the LGBTQ movement and activism for many years. And do you want to touch on how you first got started, and certainly even tied to your Catholic roots?
Yeah, sure. Just briefly, I had first run for office in 1994. I guess it was the start of my activism. I was working at Rhode Island Project AIDS at the time, and just basically seeing that, the gay community was not represented in local government at all.
Mm-hmm.
We had no voice other than people who called themselves our friends, and they fought for us as best they could, but I was always of the opinion that we were best served by our own. So I ran for office for the first time in 1994. Didn't win, but came back again in 2 years and won, and to become the first openly gay elected official in Rhode Island. And I think right from the outset, I sort of established myself not simply as just some other politician, but as a gay activist who happened to be a politician.
I would agree with
that. I remember a local progressive newspaper at the time, in my very first year, called me one of Rhode Island's top 5 heroes for being so out and outraged up at the State House in my very first year. So take that for what it's worth.
But you came out of the gate swinging. You shortly after. What was your first major bill that you decided to throw around the Rhode Island State House?
Well, it was sort of interesting. After I was elected that November, before I was sworn in, we had a conference of INLGO where the International Network of Lesbian Gay Officials got together. And that November, Senator Murray from Washington State, who was a state senator, Tammy Baldwin, who's now a U.S. senator, who was a state representative at the time, the three of us got together and we all agreed that we would put in pro-marriage bills that January, and we did. And Washington State, as you know, has just recently passed it this past November through referendum. We're really proud of them for doing that. But when I introduced it back in 1997, it was one of the first of its kind in the whole nation. It was certainly the first in New England. Before even Vermont thought about civil unions, I had introduced the marriage equality bill here in Rhode Island in early part of 1997. Back then, it was absolutely controversial, even among the gay community. I mean, people in the local gay community in Rhode Island were not supportive of me doing that. I was hearing comments like, it's too soon, and my response to them was, it's never too soon for simple justice. So I basically was, putting on the fight mostly by myself at that time, and I'm glad to see that, obviously time has proven me correct that, we really needed to fight for this and fight for it hard. And it's been 16 years since I had first introduced that bill, and now it finally seems to be moving somewhat in the General Assembly, so we'll see where that goes.
Yes, because just to get people up to speed that they don't know, is that it finally made out of that famous Judiciary Committee that it sat in forever, and it was unanimously voted out of there on Tuesday night, and it's going to be on the floor of the House on Thursday, Michael?
Correct, Thursday at 4. And I actually spoke with the Chief of Staff for Speaker Fox very recently today, and they've invited me to be present on the floor of the House as a guest of the Speaker
Awesome.
during the House vote.
Well-deserved, Michael. Well-deserved. And, I want to say something is that, this is why I wanted you on to talk about this is because, obviously folks that are in the moment now, folks that picked up this torch in the last couple of years, but when you're talking about 16 years ago in 1997 that you did this, and it just shows the slow, methodical march that we have to do and for equality. And it's not, we don't like it. It's painful. It can be difficult. It can even, rip your heart out. But, you do it and in hopes that the day happens that it finally makes it out of judiciary, it makes it to the floor and then beyond. So, what are your thoughts and what are your words to say someone that, might just be in it the last couple of years and feeling frustrated, like in a place like Ohio where we have DOMA and, the battle is so huge to even think of marriage equality?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that it has to take this long. I mean, when we started out, we were new in politics, and we wanted to employ conventional political strategies. So you go up and you educate legislators, you educate the general public in sort of a grassroots campaign, and there's all sorts of facets and avenues through which you're trying to get your message across. And it's very frustrating. And you try to use reason and rational thought. But in reality, because you don't want to offend anyone, but in reality, there is no rational reason why anyone should be against justice for full citizens of the United States. It's basically come down to people's personal bias and bigotry and prejudice that prevents this from happening. And no one wants to be known as a bigot. No one wants to be known as someone who hates. But in reality, when you come right down to it, what is hate if not the denial of love between people? And that's basically what's happening when they deny marriage equality again and again and again. And in fact, for these last 16 years, they haven't told us no, 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 no. They basically ignored us for 16 years for the most part. And that's even worse than a no as far as I'm concerned. At least a no, I know at least if someone says no to me, I know where I stand with them. But if they ignore me for 16 years, then I'm not even someone of importance to them.
Right.
And here I was, someone, who served among them as a legislator. And, I tried not to be ignored as much as possible. But in that, I only got one committee vote during my 6 years as a state representative on this bill. It just goes to show you the amount of hatred that is up, even among people who don't want to be recognized as someone who hates.
Right.
I mean, even now, we're looking towards, obviously the House probably will pass the bill tomorrow night, but we're looking at the full Senate. And I have to say, the people up there, no one wants to say, I hate gay people. In fact, they all say, I don't hate gay people. I'm against it because I have this reason. And in reality, there is no, as I said, there are no rational reasons to be against this bill. It's personal bias, and it's something that we have to all recognize. That's not to say that gay people don't hate too. I think we've become angry because of how we've been treated, and we sort of look at sometimes the conventional political structure as the other, that we're against them, it's us against them.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to stop doing that. We have to start building bridges to realize that, you know what, we're all citizens of this country, and we all have to live together and treat each other as one. And until we stop to realize that we all, have our biases, and we have to speak out those biases, in a loud voice and start to address them, we're never going to get beyond this. And there's always going to be that cultural divide between the gay and lesbian community and the straight community who opposes us. There's always going to be that bias, and we have to be honest with that and start addressing that in a proactive way, I think.
Michael, obviously in Rhode Island they passed civil unions last year, and do you feel that was just to pacify the community in hopes that they wouldn't have to deal with this again? And in saying that, fill people in on kind of the nuance of Rhode Island, what the rub is. We're the last New England state. We're known normally as a progressive state. We have, Congressman David Cicilline, openly a congressman. We're known as that nationally. But explain to people why it's not happening, or why it hasn't happened in the past.
Well, I think it's really important to recognize that Rhode Island is probably among the most Catholic states in the nation. The church here is very powerful, or at least is perceived to be powerful by some Catholic politicians. Mm-hmm. I think it's been put by the Catholic bishop to our governor. The governor has said he is not in favor of any referendum that puts the marriage bill out to voters. And I think it's important to realize that, he's saying to the governor, what are you afraid of? Just put it before the voters. And I say to the bishop, I say to the senators, what are they afraid of? Why do they want to put it to the voters and avoid a vote?
Right.
I mean, when you're elected to office, and I always found this about most politicians, is that it's a courageous thing to run for office, to say you want to serve your community. I mean, usually that's one of the basic, qualities that people who run for office have, is that they're courageous. So I see no reason, and I don't see the Senate as wanting to, give up their responsibility to deal with this issue. They deal with a multitude of issues during the course of the legislative session, and this isn't one. Especially this is the moral issue of our generation. I can't see how they would want to abrogate their responsibility to someone else because they feel that they're being pressured, because they know that the vast majority of Rhode Islanders are in favor of marriage equality. Recent polling has shown that. They know that, so they don't want to piss off their constituents, consequently their voters at the next election. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I think they don't want to piss off some perceived power of the Catholic hierarchy that they might have over them. So I think part of them, wants to avoid this, and because they don't want to face either the voters or some perceived power that the bishop has over them. And I think it's just I think it's a sad state of affairs when, if politicians do abrogate their responsibility to do what's right for all their constituents, not just their Catholic constituents, who, by the way, by 59 to 60% support marriage equality. Mm-hmm. 59 to 60% of all Catholics in Rhode Island support this against the express wishes of their bishop. So they're not really going against the wishes of Catholics. They're going against the wishes of one man, the Bishop of Rhode Island.
Well,
so I think... I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. Well, what popped in my head, Michael, was, it's interesting because these are all Democrats for the most part, because Republicans almost don't exist in our state house. And I say my state house, my former state house, my former state house. But the funny thing is that, here we go, and they consider themselves to be devout Democrats. And what President Obama said in the inauguration, was pretty impressive and sent a very clear message across this country. What are your thoughts on what he said, and and if it does impact our folks in Rhode Island?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? There's a little bit of static.
Yeah, sure. I was asking if what you thought of what President Obama said, obviously, around marriage equality in the inauguration, and if it does have some impact on Rhode Island politicians.
Yeah, I think that, the president is right. This is part of the Democratic platform. It was right from the presidential nominating committee, the Democratic committee, the Democratic convention this past summer, put it as part of the platform. It is something now that the Democratic Party is clearly out there fighting for, and that they believe. I think, sometimes it's discouraging when you feel that politicians only do something for political expediency, in that they only want to support something if it can help them win re-election. And I think that's really a poor way to govern and to serve the constituents who have put their trust in you. I mean, when I was up there, and this is not just to toot my own horn, but I was up there, I said, I wanted to do the right thing. And I felt that if I did the right thing, my constituents would be pleased and they would return me to office, which they did. But if they're more concerned about, getting reelected, and they don't really care about issues, well, I think their constituents see that, and people, obviously get disgusted with politicians whose only interest seems to be in staying in office, but not improving the quality of life, for their constituents. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really sad. I think it's, that was my experience being up there. I mean, I literally sat next to people who, were not paying attention to bills that were voted on the floor and would ask me, well, Michael, how should I vote on this to get more support during the next election? They literally would put it that way. Right. And obviously that's not everyone up at the General Assembly, right. But I think that people need to, realize that sometimes their elected officials just really want to get reelected. And I think that they're not serving themselves or their constituents in any way by doing that and having that attitude.
Well, Michael, only because we're running out of time, any final thoughts? I know that, you're a man that is spiritual and you carry this journey for equality and in your heart and soul in every way. So any final thoughts? And then hopefully we'll have you on again. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've got to, as I said before, I think that we've got to realize that we've got to reach out to those who oppose us. We've got to realize that, they are the same as us. I think that we're going to gain much, much more if we can realize that we are all citizens of this country. We all deserve equal rights. We have to stop treating each other as different, as other, as not worthy of our own personal respect. Because once you do that, once you say you're disrespecting someone, I mean, it's much easier to deny them all sorts of benefits and rights. And I think that we've got to go from places, from New England to, the rest of the country and have a larger discussion about, the gay and lesbian community, and that we are citizens of this country in places where we have, found it difficult to achieve our civil rights. And we've got to have that larger discussion, and hopefully we all can be a part of that.
Well, we thank you so much, Michael, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Gareth.
All right, my friend. All right, bye-bye. All right, the Michael Pizzatoro. We're going to have to go on a quick break and get back here. I know that Chris is probably dying in that room for a break.
Whoopsie.
Here's our music. Oh, and you probably could try to call us, but we have a packed next 20 minutes. But our number is 888-668-0742. You can give us a call. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, friend us on Facebook, and Joust It Out Show. And we'll be back.
Stay tuned.
Cocaine Energy Supplement Studio. You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network. Are you tired of all the overhyped advertisements for energy drinks and energy supplements?
Maybe skydiving from a suborbital spacecraft or jumping a snowmobile over 80 buses is not on your agenda.
Maybe you just want to make it through the day effectively. Whether it's work, school, or raising a family, life's demands can be overwhelming. When you need that extra kick in the butt to help get you going, try Cocaine Energy. You'll not find a more effective energy supplement. Cocaine Energy has higher caffeine content per ounce than any other energy supplement on the market, and it's safe. Worried about the side effects of so much caffeine? We got you covered. Cocaine is scientifically formulated to mitigate against the side effects normally associated with large doses of caffeine, such as the jitters and heart palpitations. So what are you waiting for? Try cocaine today, because life doesn't wait. Cocaine is available at local retailers and online at www.drinkcocaine.com. That's drinkcocaine.com. Once again, that's drinkcocaine.com. This product does not contain the drug cocaine. This product is not intended to be an alternative to an illicit street drug. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Not recommended for children, pregnant women, or people sensitive to caffeine. Looking for reliable and affordable Shoutcast audio or video hosting? JWN Media offers complete Shoutcast hosting solutions for business or personal use. All plans come with full listener stats, custom web scripts for implementing your service into your existing website, full server control, super fast network, and huge bandwidth limits, a 99.5% uptime guarantee, and friendly, knowledgeable support personnel dedicated to making your hosting experience fun and easy. With plans starting at only $3 a month, you have no excuse not to get a server of your own. Plus, with the option to add auto DJ and on-demand services, you can be confident your station will be all it can be. Custom plans are also available at their website. Simply visit jwnmedia.com and click the Shoutcast hosting link to get started right now. If you have a product or service, let people know about it. Get your message out there and advertise on MSC Radio Network. It's easier than you think, and the whole planet is listening. Find out how you can advertise. Email Chris at morningshowcentral.com. Call the show toll free. 1-888-668-0742. You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network on morningshowcentral.com. Heat 99 Technologies. Affordable and reliable web hosting done right. Jumping from one web host to another can be frustrating. Finding a good web host can be unnerving for even the most experienced of web designers. That's why Uncensored Net Noise has chosen P99 Technologies as its web hosting supplier. Established in 1999, P99 Technologies has evolved into a first-class web hosting provider. Its 99.9% uptime rivals many in the industry. That's why they offer their 30-day guarantee, no questions asked. For more information, go to P99.com. P99 Technologies will help you get started with your web presence with honest and expert customer service. P99 Technologies. Affordable and reliable web hosting done right. Having problems with your home computer or business PC? Looking to have some upgrade work completed on your computer? Have a special project in mind that may be too much for you to undertake alone? Time to call
Joe the Printer Guy!
Joe the Printer Guy offers a full-service hardware and software repair center at his facility to handle your PC, server, and networking needs. Let their professional service staff handle your computer needs. They offer expert service at an affordable price. Visit Joe the Printer Guy at 14035 Madison Avenue, Lakewood, Ohio. Online, joetheprinterguy.com, or give him a call at 216-651-3880. Joe the Printer Guy. If you're looking for the best in musical equipment, recording gear, sound reinforcement, and more, Guitar Center has you covered. Guitar Center, located at 26635 Brook Park Road in North Olmsted, has the tools of your trade with the largest selection of music and sound gear in the area. They cater to your musical needs and have the knowledge to help you out. Guitar Center in North Olmsted. MorningshowCentral.com uses them. You should too. Need to know more? Go to GuitarCenter.com. User-friendly and ready to serve. MorningshowCentral.com.
We're back. This is Joust It Out. I'm your host, G. With me, Judith Pendel, and our guests in the house. You know, I don't even know who to say first. I guess I'll give it to Karen McHenry from Belfair. And she's here. Karen's here. And then, of course, I don't know, Nate Brown.
Hey, how you doing? Nate Brown, Nate Puppets.
But
don't call me.
But I think the celebrity in this place right now is Lobo.
Well, duh. What's up, Cleveland? What's going on? Or is it the world? I have no idea.
So, Lobo.
So, what's up?
I don't think we've ever had a puppet person, or what do they prefer to be called?
All monster.
He's all Lobo's all monster. Well, Lobo, we're happy to have you here.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, of course.
And Lobo, you had a busy day today because you were in Tower City, which for folks that aren't from Cleveland, it is our mall downtown where we're actually doing a project, which we're going to get to with Karen in a second. But, you know, you're down at Tower City meeting all kinds of people. What was your take on it?
Oh, well, you know, people look like, what the hell's going on? Am I allowed to say that?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, we can swear on this station.
Yay!
Yeah,
all right, cool. Well, people
are
looking like, what the hell's going on? And I say, oh, we're doing the homeless youth count in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm infatuated with that.
So very good. So the youth count, and we're going to talk to Karen about this. Because
yes.
I'm so distracted.
I think
it's like we had such an intense first hour, and now I'm just like, what is going on?
I think you kind of have a crush on Lobo.
A little bit. I know I can't take my eyes off of him.
Hey, I'm single and available. That's right.
It's the cute two-bottomed teeth that I think does it. So
youth count.
Yes, go ahead.
Youth
Karen.
count, the Ohio youth count.
We're really excited because youth count started. Actually, it's a program that the federal government's asked us to count runaway and homeless youth, and this is 9 cities in the United States were asked, and so Cleveland has been chosen as one of them to count. So we started that count today, and one of our locations where we're counting is Tower City. Right. So we're very excited because we're counting youth 24 years and under that are doubling up, couch surfing, living with non-legal guardians, maybe even living with their legal guardian in an abandoned building or a car. And so we're just excited to bring some awareness and attention to this much-needed population of youth in trouble.
And Karen, the count is really for the entire county.
Entire county.
And so, why don't we talk about this? Because it's homeless youth.
Yes.
The reason it's homeless youth is because right now the national count that takes place every year is for adults only.
Right, point in time.
So the special pilot is to get in these 9 locations to try to get the solid numbers that are happening.
Yes.
But why are youth special? Why is it that youth are not as easily counted in the system?
Well, for most people, these youth are invisible. Nobody even sees them unless they get in trouble or somebody, actually brings it to our attention. So it's just really important because these kids end up in dangerous situations. They end up staying places that are really unsafe. And as both Gareth and I have said, they might stay a place where they don't have a key. So that really limits your control to a lot of choices. So we know here in Cleveland, it's, currently about 10 degrees, and that's a high possibly for right now.
Right.
So it's cold, it's dangerous, and it's deadly outside. So these youth are inside in situations where they don't have a lot of choices, like where are they sleeping? And most people go through life not having to worry about, like, where am I going to put my head down at night? And these kids go throughout the day, and this is one of their stressors, like, is that person going to let me in? Or are they going to be in a mood today and kick me out? Are they going to take my food card? Or are they going to take my SSI because I was trying to become independent and now I'm dependent again?
Right.
So these kids some of them have aged out of the system.
Right.
Some of the kids struggle with sexual orientation and they don't feel loved and cared for. And so this person befriended them and took them in. And also we see sometimes that people like traffickers have really ill intent for these children. They're not considering their best interest.
Right.
So we're worried about those kids because we know within 72 hours, Belfair knows, the street team knows that within 72 hours, a kid could be solicited for sex.
Right.
And we don't want this trauma to continue for these youth.
Now, the partners involved in this, name them
Yes.
off for us.
So we have Project ACT from the Cleveland Municipal Schools, and we have the Office of Homeless Services
For Cuyahoga County.
For Cuyahoga County, as well as the AIDS Task Force, and then Belfair and Cleveland Christian Home.
Right.
So we have been meeting and brainstorming and trying to figure out how the survey would meet lots of different needs and different populations, including young parents or children, teens with babies. So, and obviously sexual orientation we think is crucial because we know from 18 to 24 that Cleveland has an issue for where is a safe place to go.
Right. Now, when you're looking at the population, and what people don't realize is because if you ask a young person, are they homeless? They might say what?
No,
No.
I'm not. I don't need anything. I'm fine.
Right. But as you get into the nuance of this, you
Yes.
actually find out. So there are people that could listen to this that could have maybe a friend's children staying with, or child or young person or youth or even older staying
Right.
with them. But from our perspective, they would be homeless.
They would be homeless because they really, they don't have a consistent place to stay.
Mhm.
They don't know what's going to happen, if that person's going to get evicted, what their situation is even. So it's really crucial that we get an accurate count, and we are really excited because it's the first time, again, that we're counting it.
Right.
But so we can wrap services around these kids that are going to be seamless from the time they get into the system or from the time that they're identified, so we can help them.
Right. So now when we go to Nate, our friend here.
Hi.
So Nate, you have an interesting perspective on homelessness.
I do actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like she was saying, a lot of people cannot tell that you are homeless half the time, and I've been homeless a few times actually. from the point I was 15 for safety till my senior year of high school. It wasn't really consistent, but 15 I had to leave where I was staying for safety, and then 18 my house burned. So I was couch hopping and still technically am, kind of, sort of.
So from the technicality aspect of it today, you're homeless.
Yes, you could say that, definitely.
Thanks, Lobo.
You're welcome.
So in your experience of being homeless and going through it, what were most of the places you stayed?
I am lucky enough to have friends. So I have stayed at friends' houses. I have stayed. I've stayed in shelters at one point. I stayed in a shelter for a few nights. I've, stayed at some places that were rented for other options than sleep.
Right.
Put it like that.
Yeah.
So there was that. Because I had friends that owned them or rented them, what have you.
When you would do that, would that be a couple youth that would kind of rent the place together and you all kind of crash there?
No, it was more of a establishment for selling goods.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was lucky enough that they were nice and let me do that, but I've done that. And unfortunately, that's not okay because it's not what it's being rented out for.
Right.
But there was that.
What's the perspective why you wouldn't just go to the shelter? Because obviously people would say, well, you're 18 years old.
Yeah.
Why can't you go to 2100 Lakeside?
Well, shelters fill up, and depending on where I am during the day, I don't know if I can even get to the shelter in time. And I don't want to sleep on the street, of course.
Right.
I've done it once or twice, and it's I've been lucky enough I could only had to do it once or twice. But you don't want to sleep on the street, and shelters fill, and sometimes people are kind of shady at shelters. I hate to say that.
Right.
Like, I've had people tell me right away, don't talk to anybody, keep your head down. And there's that and that and that. And so,
So, say tonight you and Lobo rolled into the shelter. What would that be like for you, comfort-wise?
Comfort-wise, well, I probably wouldn't talk to anybody, honestly, because it can be hard to trust people in shelters, unfortunately, as well, especially as a youth.
Right.
You never know what someone might want from you. Whether it's just to take advantage of you in one way or another, or what.
Screw that. Shelter, really? No, I lived in a suitcase half the time. Excuse me. I'd rather not live in a shelter for the night. Or at least one with a bunch of different people I don't want to talk to. Some dude comes like, "Hey, what's your teddy bear over there doing?" I'm like, "Oh God, get away! Go away! God!" That's really insensitive. Who said I was sensitive?
He is a monster.
Well, duh.
He is.
Duh.
So let's go back here.
You need a permanent monster.
Lobo really throws me off sometimes. But Lobo, I want to say, I think Lobo is a very positive thing in all of this. And so Lobo, how was he born? How does Lobo become the monster he is?
My mama gave birth to me.
No, what happened? I actually got Lobo when I was maybe 14 years old.
Okay.
And during my first, I was a runaway at first. During that, he was right there with me. And they kind of liked it. The shelter's like, "Hey, look at this kid. He's got a puppet. That's so cool. You want to do a show for us?" And I'm like, can I go to bed? So, no, but Lobo and I have been together since I was 14 and I was 13. And then we're grown-ass adults now. No. So, I don't know. It's just this has been my. I don't know if we're talking from a technical standpoint or what. But in my routine, he's my best friend, and the technical standpoint, he goes.
Bit of a lifeline.
Right. A lifeline. Oh, look how nice they are! Wow. Yeah, lifeline.
But I think there's, obviously you have some talent here, a lot of talent here. You created Lobo. Lobo comes out, and then you've actually kind of gone around the country in different ways. So tell us about that. Like you've dealt with some really interesting people. I'm looking at your Save Big Bird.
Save Big Bird. Well, that was
during the election.
That was during the election. Yeah, they right away called out Big Bird. Mitt Romney. I like you, and I like Big Bird, and I like you too. But it's like, oh crap, now we got to do with this.
Do you think Mitt Romney would have liked Lobo? That's my question.
Yes.
Probably not.
No. No, I mean, I since I mentioned Mitt Romney, I can't say who I've necessarily worked for now, but no, I've worked with other puppeteers.
Yeah.
Met a lot of other people. I've been to New York City to work in puppetry a little bit.
And you recently got a chance to.
Right. What'd you do this weekend?
I was in the this weekend. Oh, I auditioned for America's Got Talent. Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
And what'd you do for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving. Well, I wasn't there. I did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and since I mentioned Mitt Romney, it was with a certain children's puppet show that's been on since 1969.
Sesame Street?
I didn't say it. You did.
Okay.
It's political. I can't.
Oh, I see. We don't want to ruin any shot of you working
exactly.
there. Sorry, Lobo.
So, but I heard you got a callback though.
A callback?
So not only did
American
you just
Idol.
like...
Well, no, I didn't.
Yeah, American Idol now. No.
I didn't get the callback yet, but
but we're just waiting. We're working on it.
You never know. Man,
what was the experience like?
The experience was interesting because I'm generally a shy person. Usually, unless I unless someone's a mutual friend, what have you. And it was weird because I brought Lobo out. Well, here's what happened. I had Lobo in his bag. Sorry. So I had Lobo in his bag, and
I wish anyone just listening to this and not watching it, you have to see Lobo's expressions. Watch
it.
That's the missing
Watch the
thing.
video.
It's radio, so
it's radio.
He
Yeah.
rolls his eyes.
He does. His head bobs.
No, but basically, I was sitting there and had him with me. And I'm very shy and nervous and like shaking almost. And someone's like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, do that." And I'm gesturing. My hand is it's a puppet mouth if you can't see it because it's the radio. But she's like, "You're a singer?" And I pull him out and like, "What's going on, Tito? What's up?" Yeah. And he'll flirt with girls, what have you, and they like it. And so.
Oh, well, we'll be looking forward to seeing you possibly on this year.
Possibly, but
I don't know how Lobo doesn't make national television. I think he needs to.
Attention, America.
It's so.
Oh, excuse me. God,
Go ahead. Attention, America.
I want to be on TV. Get me on the television. I'm speaking fake French.
See him here and Joust It Out first, people. You know what was so cool was that Lobo was out there volunteering this afternoon.
I was.
Lobo was out there, talking to young people, getting them to fill out the survey. It was awesome. People wanted to come up and like, what is this puppet doing? What is going on here?
What is happening up in here?
Yeah, it was really
great.
cool.
And that's a really good point. In case anybody's listening that happens to be in one of these situations, doubling up couch surfing, they can still fill the survey out for Cuyahoga County by going on the Cuyahoga County website.
Right.
And it's really
CuyahogaCounty.us.
Yes. So you can also friend us on Facebook. We're at Youth Count Ohio. And we also have YouTube. So if you want to make a YouTube video
and post it up there.
It.
I know who needs to do a video. Lobo.
Here, let's do it. Let's do it right now. We can't do it right now. Damn.
So I know, of course, the count is going to go until Monday.
Yes,
so
Monday midnight.
Folks here in Cuyahoga County and Cleveland, if you're downtown, you want to stop by, the office at Tower City is set up next to the Foot Locker on the lower level.
Yes.
We'll be seeing more of Nate and Lobo down there.
Yes, you will.
Okay, well,
Tomorrow.
I think if you want to meet Lobo, I think everyone needs to go down there.
You should meet me, because you never know when you're going to get the chance.
Yep, that's
it's
right.
It's like, people seem like, what the hell's going on over here? Ugh. And now it's like, oh my God. I heard you on the radio. You should. Can I get your autograph? I'd like to sign autographs. Yeah.
I think getting on America's Got Talent will definitely get you a lot more autographs, or signing a lot more autographs.
Well, let's
Joust It Out.
No, I never. To be honest, I never put all my eggs in one basket. Let's see what happens, and
Nate's always planful that way.
Yeah, let's see what happens, and I'm not leaving Cleveland. I love this city, so.
Well, here's the thing, and we have to do a shout out video at the end of every show, and this one's just kind of in honor of President Obama's inaugural speech and giving the shout out to the LGBT community. We are doing this video, and
it's not the usual dance music
not
that we have,
dancey enough,
but it is very musical.
It is.
So I'm hoping that Lobo can dance with us a little bit.
Yep.
I will. I shall.
Yes, you guys.
I think he'll enjoy it.
I might.
We will do it.
So I guess this is it.
It is?
This is it.
Gay, oh boy.
First, this was gay. This was gay. This was gay back in the day. Gay meant happy when way back we didn't know the other way. Gay old time, not the kind that we now all have in mind. Fred Astaire and Christmas carols, don ye now our gay apparel. And then gay, this was gay. We saw gay a different way. Stonewall riots, then Miss Bryant had her say.
Yes!
Melissa Etheridge, Elton, and don't ask, don't tell. When this was gay, this was gay.
This was gay.
Lots of gay, lots of gay. Oh my God, the world is gay. This one's gay and that one's gay. I think he's gay, and they're all gay. So much glee, we could see a new modern family, but it's only just begun, and so we hope
Bring us home.
join the fun. And
I'll sing along. We are gay.
Just say hey, okay, I'm gay. We'll deter not if you were not born this way. So sing along and stay on key and get your gay on. Be a gay. Be a gay. Be a gay. Just be a
And
it's not for everybody.
Maybe it is. And on that note, we want to thank all of our guests tonight. So Molly and Michael Pizzatoro and Karen McHenry and, of course, Nate Brown.
And Lobo.
I was going to give it to you, Lobo, but
I gotta steal the show,
stepped on it.
man. I gotta steal it.
All right, we'll be back next week, and thank you for being part of our show.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.